Hi, I'm Paul Verhoeven. I'm the director of Basic Instinct.
And I'm Jan de Bond. I was the director of photography on Basic Instinct.
Carolco, not there anymore,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
one of the many companies gone.
That was a great company. The music is Jerry Goldsmith, and it took us forever to find the main theme. I think we spent about a month going back and forward between all kind of possibilities, and we could never settle for something that pleased me. And it drove him crazy, I think. I think in retrospect, it's all fine, and we became very good friends because it was a very tough collaboration in the beginning. But then one day he came up with a little part for a certain scene where it didn't work either, I felt. But I suddenly thought, oh, perhaps it works in another scene. And then we put it there, and it worked. And from there on, he could write the score in one run. There were never any problems anymore. It was just the tone of the music was so difficult to find. This kind of thread and this kind of elegant, charming, seducing tone that, of course, is the character of Sharon Stone.
I think it's really brilliant that final theme he came up with, and I think it became an instant classic. Everybody kept talking about how great the music was. I think it's really, really brilliant. I also like this title sequence, Paul. I think it's really great to use those kind of.
No, it was great. The idea this was done by Wayne Fitzgerald. And I think, and he shot some. I think we used some shots of the movie of the two bodies of Sharon and Michael. So what you see there are bodies, but it is multifaceted, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like because mirrors are used so much in the movie, and I think this is kind of really introduces that whole mirror effect quite unique, and I think it's really great because it goes right into the first shot, kind of. It's a nice transition.
Well, yeah, and the idea was we never achieved that because we started this process too late. The idea was that all the facets would build up really to the next shot because it also has very strong lines. Remember there,
exactly,
the lines as you shot it, basically that all these lines would be basically found by the facets, but now. We never got that, and so it's just a fade over, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But still, you get the idea of the mirror on the ceiling. I think that's really cool, and the triangles in the ceiling. I think it works really cool.
So this is, we never use stand-ins, so whatever you see is real. And all these elements that you see here in this scene, which is kind of an erotic scene, clearly, with some sadomasochistic elements, all the elements like the mirror, the fingers in the mouse, the bed, the scarf that's coming up, the white scarf, the way she is sitting on top of him, the way she ties him up. All these elements will be used later in the scene between Sharon and Michael, which when we see that scene, of course, will prove to us, or at least makes us fear that the end of the scene, of course, like in this one, will be a killing.
I remember how she started to hate this scene when we were shooting it. I mean, endless, sitting naked on top of this. It was like an extra, wasn't it? I mean, it was not.
No, yeah, he came from a really different kind of, let's say, visual industry. Let's call it that way. Yeah. And Sharon basically.
He was used to it, but I don't think she really was.
Yeah. And for her, it was but the harshest thing was, of course, that while we were doing this, Jan asked me to throw all blood over her continuously, so that would really be gruesome. And she nearly fainted.
She was really disgusted by it. I still remember my whole outfit, my shirt, my pants were so under the blood. I couldn't get it out. I had to throw it away.
I was sprouting it right in her face and over her breast, and she really hated it. And one of the shots that you saw there, the shot where the ice pick goes through the nose of Johnny Boss, that was a puppet by Robert Bottin for that one shot of a couple of less than a second or something like that. This is a real location. I think that Jan and I found after the location people presented us with a couple of possibilities.
Yeah, it is a beautiful house. Although most of the movie is shot in the studios, this is actually one of the very few locations we used.
The Picasso, of course, is not real, but we had an artist coming in that repainted a couple of Picassos that are visible in the movie. In this scene, you just saw, and in the one that we see in Catherine Termel's house later.
What's it say, Doc? 92 degrees.
The idea here was really, I think, what we had, Jan, was to make the camera move all the time without really much cutting, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the camera kind of leads you through the story. It kind of helps you tell the story.
No bruises on the body.
In fact, the interesting thing is when you start to look at these shots, not the cutting that you see here, but immediately after that the actors are nearly leading the camera. I asked the actors basically to move from one point to the other so that Jan could choreograph the camera in the most, let's say, gorgeous way, I nearly would say. For me, there were a lot of influences there of Fellini and notably like 8.5 and Dolce Vita, but notably Touch of Evil of Orson Welles.
Yeah, Touch of Evil had a lot of those really long shots that followed the axis through the house, and it's really amazing. But we have actually also a lot of Hitchcockian shots, which we're definitely going to point out later in the movie.
It's like civic-minded, very respectable cocaine.
But it's interesting, if you look at the police scenes here and in the precinct, we mostly used a kind of a floating movement. And when we were with Catherine Termel and his detective work, we are using a lot of Hitchcockian style, I think. I think a lot of the scenes in the precinct are also done in this kind of floating Steadicam style. I think this was shot Steadicam, isn't it? Or did you
No,
use
this
a
was
dolly here?
yeah, this was in that kind of floating arm that we used a lot, Paul. That remember that little
Yeah,
device?
right. That's basically that you invented for the movie. I think.
Exactly, yeah. And that worked really cool. It could go up and down, and the camera felt very free all the time, and you could go around.
Have you ever used it again?
Not too often, because it's very hard to use.
I mean, there's also Steadicam, isn't it?
Oh,
On,
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah,
streets,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
were running and all
absolutely,
that stuff.
yeah.
That's all Steadicam.
Yeah.
This is yeah, let's say very close to the Bay Area, Divisadero. It's called. The street, I think, is called Broadway. It's all in San Francisco, and I still. Let's say, regret that I hadn't put a naked Leilani on top of the roof, that she would be sunbathing, because she comes down in the next scene. And I thought it would be great in the wide shot, but we shot from a crane or something.
Right,
It is very high.
Yeah, yeah. These shots, both the high angle and this shot, they're very Hitchcockian shots.
Yeah, because the camera's so low here, and the other one's so high, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Hitchcock tend to use those very high establishing shots slightly from the back, and it creates a lot of mystery, of drama. And I think that works the same as the extreme low angle shots.
Well, even here our camera is really low all the time, isn't it?
Well, I like to. The things I like to show, how I like to show the ceiling. I like to show the audience this is a real location. It's like it's not a set. These are real people living in this house. Actually, that's also a fake Picasso. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
no, right.
I don't remember.
As he
anymore.
points out, he's bigger.
Seriously.
And we made them. We had to make them. Basically, that was the demand of the family, the Picasso family. We could copy them exactly. There was no problem, but we should change the size a little bit so that there would not be any possibility that it could be a fraud.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we made it a touch bigger or a touch larger, a touch smaller, depending what was the best for the scene.
She's really good looking. I think it was a great introduction, her at the top of the stage. It's a classic Hollywood introduction, but really perfect for this movie.
Well, Roxy, do you know where your friend is?
She's at
I think this was the first time that Leilani Sherrill did the movie, and it is the last time she did it too, because after that she was kind of kidnapped, I would say, by Miguel Ferrer, one of my actors of RoboCop, and they married, and she has a family now and 2 children, and is very happy outside the Hollywood circuit.
He has kept her hidden.
Again, what you're going to see here is in the next shot is a really Hitchcockian, isn't it?
This totally, and it's always slightly from the back. So so you kind of reveal with them where they're going. It's like it creates like a very creepy feeling.
And the music is really, it's not Hitchcock, but still, I mean, there is correspondence between what Jerry did and Bernard Herrmann, clearly, isn't it?
Totally, yeah,
Especially
yeah.
in movies like Vertigo. But this is clearly another location. Well, I think half of the film is location, half of it is studio, really. All the precinct is studio. But,
yeah, precinct studio, but some, I think
and
might be
even
more.
the room we saw in The Killing of Johnny Boss was in the studio.
In the studio too.
Because of all the nudity, we didn't want to do that on location.
Yeah, I think that most of it, I mean, 80% maybe might be the studio. Except,
Right.
Yeah.
This was all there, you know. This is a villa in Carmel at the sea, and so when you see Catherine Tremel there at on the balcony, that is really the balcony that's at that villa.
This is a famous introduction. We had major trouble with this scene because here we had to introduce the leading character of the movie, and if you wouldn't buy it here, the movie wouldn't work. And we worked a lot on this scene, and actually we ended up reshooting it a few times.
Yeah, because somehow when we started to do this scene, Sharon could not get into the character of Catherine Tremel. It was very early in the movie, and her dialogue and the way she was expressing herself she lost really the conviction of being Tremel. I think it looked like she was doubting herself as Catherine Tremel, and so ultimately we felt that it didn't work. But of course, what Michael and George did was fine, and Jan shot it here in the most interesting way towards Michael and George, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And with this very heavy, low sunlight.
Yeah, and also I put those mirrors in behind her, those big reflections you see behind her. It's like this, just pieces of mirror I put in there, hidden behind the railing, to make the shots more mysterious, to give her more, make it more special.
Also, I think we did it because we felt that you would have a bit more, let's say, correspondence with the other shots, isn't it?
Yeah.
Without that light there, what you see there on the left side, which is like a sun shot. It's like the sun in the mirror or something like that. It's a lamp, isn't it?
Right. No, actually, it's a mirror itself, and it reflected the sunlight back into it.
Yeah, but it's a lamp you shoot in the mirror, yeah.
That's right.
But it looks like sunshine a little bit. Even in that shot, you just saw it.
Yeah.
And it is basically makes her shots much more, for me, made them much more equivalent to the shots of Michael and George because they're so, how you call that, backlit, isn't it?
Yeah, they're very dramatic, and her shot had to be dramatic too. I mean, it is her introduction, so we had to really work on that and make that really special, unique.
I mean, the performance you see now is the one that we did that of her. It's the second time that we did the scene, and of course by then she had really gotten a great grip on the character, and it was interesting that after we shot the scene for the first time, she was desolate because she felt that basically she had not achieved what she wanted to do, and that was clear. And Jan and I talked about it, and I talked to her, and I had a long conversation with Sharon sitting on the balcony, and I really talked to her and was nearly proving to her that she was perfect for the part and she had that talent to do it. And basically the next day she came to the set, and it was like a miracle. And you'll see the scene later. That is when Michael comes to the house for the third time. You'll see the scene later. But then she was exactly Catherine Tremel, and the first take was like perfect. There was a long shot. We started far away because we were not sure how it would develop. And Jan and I were looking at each other. I said, Chang, we got it, isn't it?
That's
or she
exactly
got it, in fact. We didn't get
actually,
anything.
We were even thinking, the studio was even afraid if she could play the part, if we wouldn't have to replace her at one point.
Yes, that was at that point.
Exactly.
And we were all, and I had done a test with her, which was so great that it was kind of amazing that it didn't work. But of course, it worked ultimately perfectly well. Yeah. She did, of course, an excellent job, and no doubt. But there was a moment there of hesitation and like not being able to reach into yourself deep enough to get that diabolical character out, isn't it? With so much charm.
Exactly. So this is all studio. I mean, every office in the police station is built on the stage, and he did a fantastic job to really, Terry Marshall, to really make it look like it's a real station. Like normally when you see a movie, you can almost instantly recognize it as a studio set, and almost all the set he built look so real. And I think one of the things that makes it help, that they feel so real, is that we put ceilings in every place, so we always could feel like, oh my God, they must be somewhere in a real station.
Yeah. And of course and outside we always we had enormous translight there and hit many of them, so that you could reach every room had its own translight.
Yeah. And actually, even the translight were at different times of day, so we could change them. It's morning, afternoon, late sunset, night.
I mean, this was Jean Tripplehorn's first part. She just came from Juilliard Academy in New York, and she had done some stage work, included some nudity, which was very handy for us because she was not afraid of that. And this was the first time she did the film part, and she had the theater education. So it took her a couple of days to adapt to the, let's say, the rigid rules of cinema making, where you cannot move too much around. You know, on the stage you can run from the left to the right, and she was inclined to do that, but she developed very fastly a feeling for the limitations and the smallness of movements that you need for movie making.
That's right. I mean, her. And she can be a lot smaller as an actor or an actress on the set than you have to be on the stage, where you have to project a lot more.
Yeah, she had to learn really that the camera can do a lot for her, and that she has to play with the camera as much as she has to play with the actors. And again, this is, as Jan said, it is all, let's say, continuation of the same set. In fact, we used two stages, and we connected the two stages to the long corridor that's in the middle. So it's one extended stage, really. I mean, there is certainly some bad blood there between this man, who is his kind of supervisor, and Michael Douglas, which certainly has to do with what happened to Michael in the past, where he was on a undercover drug operation and was on drugs himself, as we find out later, and because he was on drugs, he was, in his way, he was handling the case, notably shooting at the criminals. He shot a couple of tourists and was nearly eliminated from the force. So his supervisor there in the back has not really too much sympathy for Michael, and he will set up let's say, this enormous, this strange character that is so rich and so talented, and is a book writer, a novel writer, and wrote a book, of course, that is really very close to The Killing. This is also studio.
Yeah, this is all stage, and again, like those the backings, which you. And we always put something in between the backing, like in this case, put some smoke outside to really make it look as like a real house on one of the San Francisco hills.
I was just looking at old Hitchcock movies, going through to the one. I saw that they used smoke in The Rope.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I've definitely seen that movie.
Again, this scene is not is only important in as much as it sets out that the killer is a diabolical and very dangerous person. That's most of the essence of the scene, is to make us, as an audience, scared that there is somebody around that could be that's a killer and seems to be killing really for no much reason.
Someone who wants to harm the writer read the book and enacted the killing described to incriminate her.
Well, what if the writer did it, then what are we dealing with?
You're dealing with a devious, diabolical mind. You see, this book had to have been written at least 6 months, maybe even years, before it was published, which means that the writer had to have at least planned the crime in the subconscious back then. Now, the fact that she carried it out indicates psychopathic obsessive behavior in terms not only of the killing itself, but also in terms...
Which is true, isn't it, what he says there? That's exactly what Sharon did.
You know, sometimes I can't tell shit from Shinola, Doc. What was all that you just said?
She intended the book to be her alibi.
Correct.
And of course she's going to say that, isn't it? That's the same line that Jean is prognosing here.
I wouldn't do that, because then I know I'd be the suspect.
So what if it's not the...
Palmer, now we cut to Jean, because suppose she read the book. Suppose that Jean read the book, Beth, the character, and that she did it. So it's planting a little element there of suspicion if there would be, next to the real suspect, which is of course Sharon, if there would be any possibility that Jean Tripplehorn would be involved in the case in some way, or be even in a major way. We don't play that card at all for a long time, but I think by the way we cut it there, we planted that at the time when Michael says, suppose that was somebody that read the book. So that means, of course, if you cut to Jean there and Jean becomes a suspect, which is happening in the movie, then there is this thing in the background that she might have done it, you know.
Okay, she hasn't got an alibi. She hasn't got a motive either.
This is really Steadicam here.
The defense would just beat us to death.
And it's interesting because we are going into the elevator. The elevator seems to move. We make a trembling of the camera there. And then that opens again. Now we change the whole background very fastly during the couple of seconds that we are inside the elevator. And when the doors open, it looks like a different floor, but we are still on the same floor.
Yeah, we do that actually several times in the movie because, of course, we couldn't afford to build two sets on top of each other in the studio, and it's more efficient and more economic.
I don't think she'll hide behind anybody.
Yeah, we also do it in the very last scenes of the movie when Gus is going to be killed, isn't it?
Exactly. Actually, then we do it 3 times back to back. Yeah. But it really works. It's very.
Yeah, you don't see it,
effective.
isn't it? I mean, it's just by putting a lot of people suddenly there, it made it like look at different. And I think we changed a little bit. Some people came in very fast during these 50 seconds, changed a couple of elements in the background, put some other plans there. Here's one of these Hitchcock shots, isn't it, again?
Yeah, typical. Yeah. It's nice to see the house, placed against the drama of the ocean. I think it's really, it creates like a mystery, and I think that's really
I'd
important.
like you to come downtown to answer a few questions for us.
Are you arresting me?
That's the way you want to play it.
Could I change into something more appropriate? It'll only take a minute. Come on in. Make yourselves comfortable.
This is the interior of the real villa that's there, isn't it?
This is a real occasion. Yeah.
It's the same one where the balcony is and what you saw before. So there's no cheating here. It's all real, and we just shot it as it was. Of course, he put that there for him, isn't it? Cop cleared into his shooting, which seems to be accidental that newspaper is there, but that's about him. And she's so clever. Look, she's naked here. Don't forget it. But he's trying to see how. She puts her dress on there.
I love all those mirror shots, how mirrors reflects into other mirrors. That gives him like a free look at her without her noticing ever that he's watching her. Although, of course, he's very aware of it. She knew that
and
he
she's
was
aware
watching.
that he's aware
Oh,
of
absolutely.
it. Isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
totally,
all
yeah.
done for him.
Yeah, it's all a play.
You have the right to an attorney.
Why would I need an attorney?
She's leading, isn't it? Here she's already kind of in command.
I said this scene is kind of amazing because normally you see dialogue scenes in cars, it's always filmed from the outside in. And all the camera angles in this shot are inside the car, which is, that's also very Hitchcockian. He never lets you go far away from your actors. So you really feel that you're inside the windshield. And that is a lot more impactful than if you put your cameras outside the windows, what normally you would do in scenes like this.
And basically Hitchcock for shot. This is shot for real.
Totally,
this is the
yeah.
real road
Yeah.
behind it. We
Absolutely.
shot it on that road.
Totally,
Hitchcock would
yeah.
use reprojection.
He would reprojection, yeah.
And it was very difficult. There's a shot at the very ending, which I like. And we tried and tried and tried to get the sun doing exactly what we
Yeah,
wanted to
right
do.
behind her.
You will see it a little bit later, and suddenly then it goes over her face. And it was really, you had to time it out that when the dialogue was at that point, that the sun would reach her face.
Exactly. We had to find a piece of road that exactly at that right moment, that there would be a turn in the road, like there, that the sunlight would hit her and put her into almost like a halo.
It becomes even more clear in the very last part.
He falls for the wrong woman.
There you go.
That is. See, that's like. Those little moments are very, very amazing to me in this movie. That makes her character so
And then it
special.
goes, isn't it? And it gets only a line on the side of her face.
Yeah.
And now it's really dark. Her face because it gets really backlit now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting if you look at Shadow of a Doubt. He achieved something like that in the very beginning when the train enters the station and Joseph Cotten arrives.
That's
and he
right.
had the smoke of the locomotive. Go between the sun, and suddenly the whole, where the people are standing waiting for the train, gets into a kind of a darkness, and the little brother stays there on the foreground. Is very ominous, and it's a great shot. And it's a similar situation basically where he used the sun.
To create a dramatic
Yeah.
moment, absolutely, yeah.
It's clearly not a lamp. It's such a
Yeah.
wide shot that it was the sun, really.
This
Tell something about
this scene is really amazing because those interrogation scenes normally are very, very boring and the square white rooms, and I wanted to be more specific and unique. I wanted her to be almost like a stage and sitting on a proscenium. So we made the room very narrow and with very low ceiling, so that it would be really her against them. And to make it even more dramatic, I put those lights on the floor. Of course, normally you wouldn't find lights on the floor, but it would create it seems like architectural Mondrian-type lighting that makes it very, very dramatic. And I think that lighting in that particular scene became quite well known and has been copied in many, many commercials afterwards.
No, is that so?
Yeah, oh, totally.
I mean, everything seems to be. That's one of the scenes that you feel is kind of close to perfect, isn't it?
It's really her against them, but she's the goddess. She's in the light. She's in the focus, while they're kind of sitting in the dark.
And of course, Alan Morozna gave her this veil of innocence, which is the white
Exactly.
dress,
Yeah,
isn't it?
the virgin dress, the Grace Kelly type dress. Which is really, really perfect for this scene.
I mean, she's much more blunt in her sexual innuendos or language than they dare to be. So she's in command because of that. Isn't it? She's more daring sexually than they are.
But she controls interrogation. That is the good part of the scene. That she, from the very first moment she enters, she's in charge.
There are very small little time cuts in the scene, and then here, of course, this basically bring her hands up again has to do with what we saw earlier, isn't it? The killing of Johnny Bosch with his hands tied up. So there are little, let's say, elements, visual elements that indicate, of course, not her guilt, but her association with the killing in whatever possible way. And here's the argument, of course, that Jean Tripplehorn, Beth has already foreseen that she would be going to use.
The answer's no.
He's afraid, of course. She's so important and well known and rich that the supervisor is afraid to offend her.
Drugs, Miss Trammell?
But you ask yourself, and she says that, when you look at the glistening in her eyes, you ask yourself, she's lying probably, isn't it?
Have you ever fucked on cocaine?
Yeah, but I mean, of course, but she looks so incredibly beautiful and sexy there that those guys have no chance.
And of course, she's insinuating and showing other things.
Yeah.
Well, this is one of the famous shots. I mean, was it true, which I thought you said one time, that in the close shot I wasn't even there?
I don't remember. I mean, the thing is that when she asked, the people asked me, what would she know and not know, have known what you could see. I said, listen, if you put a camera between somebody's legs and you have a little light there, it's most likely that you will see something. But no, you definitely.
On top of that, we shot it. We had video stand by all the time, and she checked all the shots out, didn't it?
Yeah,
So-
although on video you cannot see it too
And
well,
anyhow,
obviously.
I don't think it's a problem for her anymore, the whole situation, because I think she feels that it really was an essential element of the movie.
Well, it generated so much publicity for her, positive publicity, that even I think that specific shot almost made her a star.
But it's really, I think, also her control of the situation, which basically makes that shot so, let's say, the complete expression of her dominance. Isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why it was so necessary to have that shot. Even if she can say she didn't want it or not, it was essential for the scene for that shot to be in. She really controlled them from top to bottom.
I read a book about the murder of a retired rock and roll star. I went down to his club, I picked him up, and I had sex with him.
And her expressions, I think, were really, really good. She really played the scene brilliant. A kind of really cold but very seductive goddess almost.
And in fact, we had a lot of fun during the scene, because often these people suddenly started to started to sing at the end of a take. Do you remember that, Jan?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's still on one of the dailies. Perhaps they can find that. But then they would be talking and do the scene, and at the end you would all, Michael or somebody would start a song, and I mean everybody really had a great time. But it looks very tense. But the actors were extremely relaxed, and I think they all felt that it was a great scene. So they felt confident that they were doing something really good.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I like those combination shots where you see something happening in one room and she reacts. She knows that the camera is there, and she knows that he's watching at the same time at her. So that little look at her at Michael is perfect. Perfect time.
It's like nearly a multi-screen situation that they're trying to do now, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's very suggestive.
Her look is, of course, timed, isn't it? She knows what we're doing, and she gets a cue from me to say, "Look in the camera."
Sorry to inconvenience you.
Could
That's
someone give me
great.
a ride home?
Sure.
Again, as you see, the ceilings are always in the shot. It gives us like a lot of reality.
I mean, was the production designer happy that you asked for the ceilings?
No.
Or probably not the producer, isn't
And the
it? Because
producer
it's
definitely not.
more expensive.
Yeah.
There's a nice splash cut, I think, from the inside to the outside.
I love the shot where she steps out of the car with her little feet.
Right.
Walking to
This
the-
is studio, isn't it? This shot we shot. This is reprojection, in fact.
Yeah,
And with rain that we brought into the studio.
that's right.
So the rain elements are true, but it's a car that is on suspension, I think, and we move the car a little bit, and you move the camera.
Exactly, yeah.
But it is it's streets of San Francisco that we shot before, isn't it? So
Yeah.
there are reprojection plates.
Well, the reason we had to do it because the lighting had to be very specific for this scene, and you could never duplicate it on an actual stream. It had to be very, very fine-tuned for it to work. This is on the location. This is right there.
Well, this is the house where we found Roxy, in fact, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that kind of light effect on her face.
Yes,
It's
that's
kind
great.
of-
But you use that a lot also in other scenes. In the house.
In the house too, especially
Yeah.
when things are out of balance. I mean, it creates like a very imperfect image. Which is like there's something wrong in their minds. There's something going on. It kind of enhances that.
Because you shot this through the window, in fact, isn't it?
And
So-
enhanced reality. The light went through the rain effect and then through the glass on their faces.
This one you mean?
Yeah,
this
I always
shot.
loved it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's such a kind of a like
Kind of
I
innocent.
don't give a shit idea. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
but it's innocent and very dangerous at the same time.
Right. This is a bar in San Francisco, close to the center. We shot it all at night, I think, I remember.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to see the outside and see the cars passing by.
Exactly,
And we didn't want to... So you can see the lights outside. So
It's a great bar. It's a beautiful old bar. It's still there. It's gorgeous.
No, Chucky, get me a double blackjack on the rocks, please.
What you doing, Hoss?
Of course, I mean, he starts to get disbalanced, isn't it? That's what the scene is about. And Gus perceives that. Gus realizes that there is something happening that makes him start to drink again, which of course has to do with his sexual attraction to, that Catherine Trammell nearly presents them without giving it, really, isn't it? She suggested by pointing out that she has not, in the scene before, that she does not wear any underwear, which we have seen anyhow. And so he is on the path of being seduced by her, while he at the same time tries to stay the investigator, the detective that has to solve the case, even if it would be to the point that he has to arrest her.
Yes, totally has a controlling influence on him, and he's trying to deny it and trying to stay the cop that he really is, but there's no way around it. She knows so much about him. That started, of course, with that newspaper article that he found in her house. And then from there on, it's only building and building.
Phil Nickel fuck himself.
You're right. Yeah, you guys are very funny. Hey, Chucky, get me another double, will you?
Hey, shooter.
That is the internal affairs guy that basically is in charge of his case when he killed the tourist, isn't it? And she's the psychologist that is in love with him, has had an affair with him, that he broke off for whatever reason. and but she's the one that tries to help him to overcome his psychological problems, while Daniel van Bargen, Nilsson called, is the guy that really tries to make him feel bad, isn't it? To even to make him angry, and hopes that he will be so angry that ultimately they can eliminate him from the force.
Stop riding me, man! I'll kick your fucking...
So here's the triangle really set, isn't it? What we don't know yet, and what we'll find out later, that there is something happening between Van Bargen and Jean Triplehorn. I don't mean that sexually, but that Jean, at a certain moment, has been
Giving him information.
about the let's say about Nick Curran, Michael Douglas. And of course, as a psychologist, she should not have given secret information, confidential information to Nilsson, which of course was asked for by Catherine Trammell. Catherine Trammell, of course, knows Nilsson, what we don't know, and has given Nilsson money to get this information about Michael, so she can really play him, because she knows so much about him. This was a scene that written in the is shot as written in the script, and this was one of the scenes that the gay community in San Francisco really wanted me to change, because they felt that it was a date rape. And of course it is close to a date rape, and it goes up and down between she wanting it and basically perhaps being brutalized.
We had so many protests from GLAAD during the making of this movie. I mean, like especially the exterior scenes. They came to the set, making noise, trying to prevent us from shooting at exteriors. This was, well, of course, this movie has nothing to do with being anti-gay or anything related to that.
And you're not sure exactly what the balance is here, isn't it? Is it something she likes? In fact, you are not even sure if this is, if he's in her vagina or if it's anal sex.
Well, but that's the key thing. I think it's important that you don't know that.
No,
that
it's really basically something. In fact, it's something new between them that she is not sure if she likes it, but at least she's adventurous enough to find out if she does, isn't it?
And ultimately, everything gets explained in the rest of the movie. I mean, her attitude, her behavior towards him is all basic to get him back, and it's like, I mean, it's tricks that she plays as well that you don't know yet, but that ultimately will be shown to the viewer.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me?
I mean, she tries to protect herself by giving some information about Catherine Trammell here. Of course, she's always afraid that whatever happened to the two of them at college, which we, of course, we'll find about later, that will be discovered. So she wants to protect herself by saying, but I told you about Catherine Trammell. I told you that I knew her at college. Of course, she didn't only told him half or a quarter of the truth.
You weren't making love.
It's one of Joe's, let's say, political incorrect themes, isn't it? The cigarette smoking.
It's pretty gutsy of Michael and Jean to really do it like that. So really without any, because it's hard to act do those things in front of a camera, a big crew watching, and make it still look real.
Yeah. No, I think all three of them were extremely audacious, isn't it?
I think so too, yeah.
To do a lot of things that people wouldn't have done. and a lot of actors and actresses would refuse.
They would refuse. They would have wanted doubles or stand-ins for certain shots, and none of them ever did that. We never used any of those.
I personally feel that the scene with Gene is extremely sexual, you know, and is or sexy, if you want to use that word. It's very erotic.
Okay, let's move on this. Gus, get out to Berkeley. Harrigan, find out what else she's published. Andrews, you give me that file on the parents' accident. Copy Beth on everything. I want psychological input on this.
What about me?
Oh, you're already getting psychological input, Hoss. You go soak your head in a tub of ice water. Nick? You see where she leads.
This is a great shot. I mean, it is a Hitchcockian shot, but at the same time, it slowly pulls you into the action. And before you know, you're in the midst of a big car chase sequence. I think it's a great setup for the rest of the scene, where you introduce the curves and people swerving in and out, and you know something dramatic is going to happen.
I mean, even the shots from the side when the camera is low, not these ones. You put all cameras on the car here,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
I think we had 4 cameras on Michael's car.
Yeah.
But sometimes you see the shots on the sideline,
Really
then
low.
basically, and especially in the beginning, even if it's a medium close shot of the car, they're done from a helicopter.
That's right, yeah.
And Michael is mostly driving himself here,
Yeah.
which you can see
Yeah.
in most of the shots.
Yeah, and
really.
actually, he did hit that car there for a second. But it's a very short, extremely intense chase scene. It gets climactic very, very quickly. Normally those scenes they're milked quite a bit, and it's go boom right to the point, and the next shot, that's where the bus already will be, which is really.
And this is all real, you know.
Yeah, this
we
is
shot
like-
it really like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and it was kind of probably dangerous. But
It was scary sitting in the car. Let me tell you that. I was really so worried that the driver of the bus or the driver of the car I was in.
well, we had no. I mean, of course, there was guarantee that the bus would break, but still, we were really frontaling approaching it,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And also again. With the let's say horizontally curvy road, remember again Vertigo, of course, where the roads are always vertical, moving up and down, isn't it? It's like a synonymous to the Hitchcock scene where James Stewart follows Kim Novak with the hilly roads inside San Francisco, and I think what's vertical there is horizontal here in that scene.
Yeah, but the good thing with the curvy road is you never know what's around the corner, and that is it has suspense from the very beginning, and you know there's danger there, and he's willing to risk that danger, to dare it.
Look at the side. There is the church that I talked about in the interview, and that was again is kind of an unconscious reference to Hitchcock's Vertigo, because there's a church there when James Stewart approaches the house of where Kim Novak seems to have a room upstairs, secret room. I thought that the church was there because of Hazel Dobkins being, a multiple murderess. That I wanted to counter that, but I think it was really Hitchcock that brought that church to my mind. We shot this at twilight with 4 cameras, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So we could do it every 2-3 minutes. We made another shot of the whole sequence where she walks out, goes to the car, drives away, and the whole thing.
So still some detail in the night, so you really can. The city is still part of the whole sequence.
So we shot it, I think, when it started to become twilight, and went through about 15 minutes of shooting every 2-3 minutes. And then later we fitted together the takes that were most, consistent with each other.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you see the sky, isn't it? And darkness in the sky, it's not black.
Yeah, you will see it on the DVD, especially really, really well. this is also like a very short, very climactic little chase moment, and I like those things that come to a climax very quickly, so you don't get a chance to get bored by anything.
I remember when I got because she's really good in the way she drives. After the movie came out, I got a little note from two lesbian girls, as they describe themselves, and they say, "We are so happy with this movie, especially because the heroine, Catherine Trammell, is A, rich, B, smart, C, a good driver."
A good driver. I think that's very funny.
Here you do it again with the flickering light,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and you see that all, and it's going to come back several times in the movie.
And I think the little smoke that you see here and there, that's probably artificial, isn't it? What we did.
Right.
Did you do that with mirrors, basically? That light effect.
Yeah, this is with all kinds, and this in the whole movie. There's a lot of use of colored gels. Like the color in that room is like 4 different colors put together, so it makes it more magical and kind of very painterly. Because it had to be very sensual, of course, and I didn't want to get just like this room to be, in a way, you know, it's a red room. It's like almost like in the red district in Amsterdam. It's like
Right.
she's exposing herself, and she knows that he's out there.
Didn't you do some of these scenes with the flickering light by having a little, let's say, plate filled with water and little pieces of mirror
glass,
that somebody was moving?
That's right. I had like a little basin with broken piece of mirror in there, and water in it, and then very bright spotlights moving over it and slowly shaking the water, so you could get this nice wavy water effect over the sand.
Here we are at the precinct at night, so that's what we talked about before. We shot, of course, all the exteriors, the plates for the exteriors for the translight were shot always at twilight also. So you have a little bit kind of blue in the sky if you see it through the windows. And of course we changed them, of course, depending what kind of scene we changed the translight depending what kind of scene we were shooting at what point of the day.
I always like this acting. It always makes me laugh.
What Gus is saying there.
Yeah. She's just does him.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a nice combination, the two of them, isn't it?
Yeah, they couldn't be more different. See, this kind of reflection is done with polarizers that I change within the shot. So you see the reflection and it slowly disappears and I see her.
Hi. Am I disturbing
Because the reflection, I think, is very important to remind your audience of where you are. And it is also, again, those little moments of drama that you add to your shots that really increase the intensity, the drama.
Again, she has put these things there, making clear to him that she has really gathered everything about him.
My detective in my book. You don't mind, do you?
And she uses it, in effect, she uses it for the novel too. And she's doing the real story, our story, and writing the detective novel more or less simultaneously, and basically following the same passes. This was the scene that I talked about before, when Sharon, after that scene on the day on the balcony, where she couldn't get into the character. That was the scene, that the shot you just saw. The one before that was when she started suddenly, where she was in character.
Mm-hmm.
And she never lost it anymore. It was a kind of a magic moment. I cannot. I mean, it always jumps immediately to my mind what happened in, let's say, 12 hours. You know, the 12 hours that she went home, slept, and came to the set again. And I never asked her if something happened. You know, perhaps she might not have even an answer to that. It just happened.
I think she just stopped thinking about it. She just became the character.
Right.
I think because she has to. There has to be something of you in the character. There's not. You know, you cannot play everything.
No, I think Catherine Trammell is very well known to Sharon, and she not complained, but she later said that it was kind of difficult because she became so much the character, and she was not really too happy with all the darkness that was there. I think that's also probably a reason that she has hesitated so long to do a sequel, because she felt that the character was so diabolical that it was perhaps not much of a pleasure to become that person, and I think she identified it with the character on the set and off the set, really.
Absolutely, yeah. It continued after the shooting was over. every evening. That's for sure.
Did we do anything on the windows there? This is
No, the only thing is, of course, there's a lot of ND filters on the wind neutral density because I wanted to make sure that you could see the ocean, that you could see the water and the waves behind it, to increase that to create a heightened reality.
If you look at it, I think we used much more locations than we thought in the beginning, isn't it? Because it's all real, isn't it?
This is real. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking.
Just sucked into it.
This is one of my favorite scenes.
I like when they get really, really close.
Yeah.
Almost lip to lip, and
The day you shot those two tourists.
And the music is great. Listen
Yeah.
to the music; it's so well done.
I think the music in this whole movie is extremely well composed. It's beautiful.
It has this kind of
You
Yeah.
can tell me.
strange, threatening,
Yeah, it's
melancholical,
Yeah, but also like-
ominous.
like a challenge at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like the music is challenging him.
Yes, you did. They never tested you, did they? Internal affairs.
Remember the shooting scene is like, actors are that close together. How can you ever make them visible? I remember having trouble placing the camera in a way that you could see enough
To get
of
the
it.
camera there.
Yeah, to get the camera in there. Because you wanted to see the eyes. Without eyes, you don't have a face. You don't have a character.
I think you got too close to the flame.
Again, these things are always playing a little bit with this sadomasochistic kind of thing that seemed to be associated with her, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
and it's also-
brutality that he uses on her arms.
Yeah, it's like, she's in control, but that's the only way he can use his
React,
control.
right.
It's like he reacts. It's like she does it with her mind, and he uses
She got him
just
now.
brutal force.
Now she got him with his wife, isn't it?
Yeah.
Telling him, basically reminding him of his wife, that apparently he drove his wife to suicide, isn't it? And now she gives him the second blow, isn't it? After doing that,
Exactly.
she basically says, "Here, look, this Roxy. This is really what I really like.
Yeah, of course.
You don't get
yeah.
me
I was touching to see.
because I have Roxy, and basically it's more than enough. You're just superfluous here." So he's really punched in the nose a couple of times here by her, isn't it?
See, again, this is a camera stays behind with an actor. It leads you from room to room to room and discover the no character.
I'm gonna have to give you a call back. Yeah, Detective, let me call you back. Detective, you can't go in.
Who's got access to my file?
What are you talking about, Nick?
Who has access to my goddamn file?
Nobody! It's a confidential site.
So basically, this is part of her setup. I mean Sharon Stone's setup, Catherine Trammell. And basically, this is what she wants. She wants him now to attack Daniel von Bargen because of the information that he got from Jean Triplehorn, which is visible for everybody in the office. He attacks him. I mean, he seems nearly to want to strangle him. They prevent it. But that was all planned by Catherine Trammell. That's why I call her always the devil, because who could plan something so precisely? But she has been made clear to Michael in the scene, the last scene between the two of them, that information came from Jean Triplehorn. Through Jean Triplehorn, he gets the confirmation of that. He goes to Daniel von Bargen, Nilsson, attacks him, and basically that attack is extremely important for the next move that Sharon has planned, which is killing Daniel von Bargen. So that it looks now, after that, as if, of course, killed him. Because he was angry, he attacked him in the office, everybody has seen it. And when they find him dead in the car very shortly, of course the suspicion will be on him. So she really pushed him around to the point that he has not to leave the force, but he is on leave, kind of. He is kind of, he cannot work anymore.
Actually, this also shows how good an actor Michael is, where he has to go from one extreme emotion and then totally change when he comes outside and he meets his partner. It's really, really well acted.
Nick, are you there?
Go away, Beth. I don't want to see you.
This key is something we're gonna obviously use again later in the movie when she is
Killed.
just before she is killed.
Yeah. That's why we close up it here, isn't it? For a
Exactly,
moment.
exactly.
It's,
So, yeah.
it's a Simpson kind of little thing, isn't it?
I don't owe you anything. Now, you don't owe me anything. We went to bed, what, 10, 15 times maybe? It wasn't memorable enough to carry an obligation.
Sometimes I really hate you.
Oh, why don't you get yourself some friendly little therapist? I'll work out some of that hostility. And maybe you can get off once in a while. You nuts!
Sorry. I don't usually act like that.
How could you give him my file?
I had to. He was going to recommend your discharge from the force. Didn't bother
But basically,
finding out
Michael's
what
character
was
is trying to clarify what the hell is going on with his mind. I mean, obviously, he's being fucked, you know, around with, and he's trying to implicate him in so many things that he has to now find out what is true and what isn't true.
For him, it's very difficult, of course, to accept the fact that Jean Tripplehorn, in her part and in her as a psychiatrist, was willing to give information away to Internal Affairs, which, of course, is his enemy, isn't it? In the
What
background,
was
you
this
see
movie
Hellraiser.
again? Oh yeah, Hellraiser, exactly. I was
Yeah.
trying to figure it out.
I mean, we use that because it's a bad dream that he has, isn't it?
Like
That's
a nightmare.
like showing his own bad dream on the television,
Right.
and which, of course, leads to what Sharon has planned for him, being confronted with the execution, I would say, of Nilsson.
Again, this is like, you know, that first shot from inside the car. We discover where we are. With the character, we are being led into the scene instead of normally you would have establishing shots and show it. We stay with the character because this is his world. This is his nightmare he has to deal with. And again, the camera is his point of view, and it kind of pushes us and discover this character found dead in the car.
So now, basically, she has achieved her goal, isn't it? She killed Nilsson, clearly. I mean, not because she had a problem with Nilsson. The only way the reason she killed him was her diabolical plan to make him suspicious or even look guilty. That's all that she wanted out of this, so that she could manipulate him further and entangle him more into her spider's web. I mean, she's clearly a Black Widow, isn't it? And ultimately, of course, her plan might be just to kill him off anyhow, Nick. Like she killed everybody off, just to see if she can get away with it.
So now the roles are reversed. Now he's sitting in the same seat that what Catherine was sitting in the beginning of the movie. And now he's on the podium. He's on the stage. He's being put there.
Do you have any evidence that he showed your psychiatric file to anyone?
No.
But he's a lot more insecure, of course, as Sharon is. Sharon's character.
Sit in if you don't mind.
I'd really rather wait
I
until
don't see
after.
anything wrong with Dr. Garner sitting in if Detective Curran doesn't object.
Where were you last night?
Oh, I'm watching TV.
I mean,
All night?
they know, of course, that he has been drinking, so he has to say yes.
Were you drinking?
And now she starts to lie for him to protect him.
Yeah, I was drinking.
When you start drinking again?
A couple days ago.
I saw Detective Curran at his apartment about 10 o'clock last night. He was sober and lucid.
Of course, a complete lie.
Asked him in my capacity as his departmental therapist about his altercation with Lieutenant Nilsson. He expressed regret and displayed no hostility.
This is something that she did too, of course, that subconsciously he does exactly the same thing as Sharon did.
There's no smoking in this building, Detective.
What are you gonna do, charge me with smoking?
And now he uses the same defense
All
system.
right, Nick, I'm going to ask you this just once. For the record, did you kill Marty Nilsson?
Only in her case, it was true that she really wrote the book,
Exactly.
basically, so to protect herself.
That's right.
And, of course, he was set up to look similar. And he, of course, Inspector Walker, his boss, basically looks through it and realizes that he's just the other people don't understand because they were not in that investigation, of course.
What are you talking about? What book?
Private joke, asshole.
I don't think it's funny. You're going on leave, Curran.
So he feels thankful to Bat. This is the studio, is it, on stage?
Yeah, this is studio.
We built a little part down here, so till about here, and then basically
They got to relocation.
when they and then when they go down, this is another location.
Yeah, actually, this is a Steadicam. We built a tiny little one-cable elevator in the center of this hallway, so the camera would always be level with the actors going down the stairs. And it's normally very hard to do. We didn't want to get the camera ahead of her, so you always would look up. We wanted to be at the same height. So this little elevator, so the Steadicam operator was lowered down on this tiny
And
little
rotated.
seat and rotated at the same time to stay even with the actors.
And if you look back at it halfway, you will see a corridor, of course, that is that they pass through. That corridor, of course, is not there because we only built the staircase. But the corridor is just a big photograph, isn't it? That you see through the little windows of the doors there.
Beth, I didn't mean what I said yesterday.
Yes, you did.
about-
I'm a big girl. I can handle it.
So this is on location on San Francisco. In fact, it's the real headquarters
police
of the police
station,
here
yeah,
where we
yeah.
are. Back to stage.
And the dressing on this set is so perfect that it really, and this, the way we look outside, the ceiling, the lights, makes it all looks really real.
Yeah. Well, we did. In fact, we visited the headquarters of the police many times, and Terry Marsh basically copied it in some way, pretty precisely. Changed the colors a little bit, made it clearly wider because it's more cramped there, so that we would have more space for the camera in it. That's what we did, I think.
Yeah, but it still feels like real. It didn't feel like nothing is done artificially.
No, it's I think it's a pretty much of a copy of what is there.
Yeah.
It's just more handy for the camera, isn't it?
But it's messy. It's messy like real offices
Right.
normally look like.
First you got her stealing your file, now you got her killing Nielsen? Forget about her, for Christ's sake. Go somewhere, sit in the sun, get her the hell out of your system.
You don't buy it, do you? She knew nobody'd buy it. She knew I'd say she did it, and she knew that nobody would buy it.
I mean, he starts to realize what's happening, of course, to a certain degree, while Walker, his boss, basically feels that it is all him being too interested in that woman, isn't it, for sexual reasons. Of course, no sex has happened yet. But, of course, the movie is building and building towards this attraction to the two of them. And in this scene, now she has him really for her own, isn't it? He's not working on the force anymore, at least not for the time being. She got him where she wanted him. She has full access to him.
Yeah, she's totally in control now. She totally can do almost anything she wants with him right now.
Reminding him of his losing his job, or kind of for the moment.
I have attorneys. They have friends. I have friends. Money buys a lot of attorneys and friends.
Well, I wouldn't know about that. I don't have any money.
He doesn't want to give in to her, but
Gus is my only real friend.
I wasn't talking about real friends.
there he goes.
Why doesn't Gus like me?
I like you.
You do?
Yes.
The implications are more, of course, than just a drink, but still it doesn't happen. She's still postponing it. She still will get out. She wants to delay the moment as long as possible, because tantalizing him with offering him the sex that he wants. Look at the staircase that you just saw is also, if you will see it in a couple of other scenes, especially when they leave. It's based on the staircase of, I think it's based on the staircase of Vertigo again at the end of the movie, I think.
It's almost identical, yeah.
Jack Daniels, all right, it's gonna have to be.
Because this team is the ice pick. It's like that's very symbolic and it starts setting up the ending again. The implications of this ice pick are quite amazing, and he knows that too. They both know that.
Yeah, they play with the fact that she might have done it, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, of course, he's a lot better with it than he is. He's kind of clumsy.
Why don't you let me do this for you?
It's all playing with the fact that basically that she might have used the ice pick. The way she grabs the ice pick is already basically a proof of that.
And also that means a little bit that he's accepting that danger that she creates.
And she does it also in a very handy way, like bang, 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 and big pieces fall off. So it's all playing with the possibility of that she did it, isn't it? In the meantime, it's also a seducing scene, isn't it?
Thanks.
So how much you pay Nielsen for my file?
Isn't he the police?
She does as if she doesn't know. Of course, later we find out, I think, that she paid $50,000 to get the file.
Okay. How about if I call you Nikki?
My wife used to call me.
That she knows that too. That's information she uses again, probably from the report, isn't it?
It's a writer who's done a lot of research for her books.
What Manny Vasquez used to call you?
Bitch, mostly. But he meant it affectionately. Do you have any Coke? I just love Coke with Jack Daniels.
We used a lot of these kind of browns and greys and stuff on her clothes, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
So beiges and all that. It's always in these kind of tones. Once about, well, there's a color like the jacket she has here, which is blue, but ultimately it's mostly in the beige, greys, and soft browns.
You're very earth colors.
Say, what do you want from me, Catherine?
What the fuck?
The original line was, "What do you want from me, Catherine?" But of course, Michael, who felt basically that his character should be stronger, and he felt that throughout from the beginning of the script. So we added all little kind of little things, and in this case, he added the word "fucking" in it. What the fuck do you want from me, Catherine? Because he didn't want to give in to her. He felt that he was too much a victim, basically, of her manipulations and her brilliance throughout the script.
Why'd he do that?
But we got his character much more, gave him more. And normally in the scenes she had always the last word. Now at least he has in several scenes he is still at the end of the scene on top of her.
Yeah, he's trying to gain control again, I think, and that's and Michael is really good in really understanding his character and all the changes it went through.
Yes. And also accepting the shadows of her character, isn't it?
Totally, yeah.
I think Michael knows about that. I mean, there is so much to read in Michael's face all the time, which is so great, I think, isn't it? Yeah. She's kind of mysterious. She's kind of basically will never show what she's thinking. But with him, if you look at his face, it's nearly that you know how he feels about everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is the staircase we were talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you look at the end scene of Vertigo, it's kind of very similar.
I'll meet you there.
I think we mentioned it to Terry Marsh that it was to be something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in fact, interesting enough, we never studied Vertigo together, isn't it?
No, I don't. We mentioned that, like.
Yeah, but we never looked at it before shooting.
No.
Did we look at paintings before we started this?
We did look at some movies. I mean, we did look at some Hitchcock. We definitely looked at Rear Window. We looked at the Orson Welles movie, Touch of Evil.
Right.
I think that was like a key source.
Especially, I'm not even talking about the first scene of Touch of Evil, which is the glamorous dolly shot, isn't it, with the crane?
Yeah,
I'm talking about the normal scenes when they are in the room of the Mexican young guy that's arrested, where the camera moves back and forward continuously among the people.
This also is set, which is very brutally lit with neon and leaves nothing over to the imagination in regard to where we are. But at the same time, it's very sensual. The colors are very sensual, and there's this light in this disco that we had built, which is almost becomes like a character. It is also computer controlled. It can move in between the actors. It can grow in density and intensity, and the way the lights are moving across its surface. It's quite cool, and it's really used almost as a character in the dancing a little bit later on.
And of course, by pretending it to be a church, which was based on a disco church that I think was
In
or in San Francisco or New York,
yeah.
And that was written in the script that there was a church, but basically then Jan had this idea that the church should all be lit with this kind of fluorescence in it.
But
And we tested them a long time, isn't it, to get the right colors.
Totally, and but also the arches, you know, that are lit up by the fluorescence and the many different colors. And although they still fit the color scheme of the movie, it increases the gothic feel of it all.
And it's interesting, there is this kind of nonchalant decadent style in it. Like, okay, that's all normal, isn't it?
Yeah, it almost reminds you of Berlin in the 30s.
Right. Again, it had a ceiling, I think, in it.
Almost every set had a ceiling, which is like, I mean, makes, of course, the lighting much harder to hide it. But this is kind of where that light is going to play a part in the movie. It's right behind them right now.
The first song we had was a Belgian rock song, kind of a house music, and this is the song Blue. A very fascinating song because it fits so well the seductive quality of the scene, I think. It took us, I think it took me 4 months to find these two musics. The first one is kind of hellish because of the church and the lights and the whole thing, and this one is let's say has this simplistic nearly quality of seductive by making little changes in the instrumentation for the little transition between what's happening.
And this is, of course, where Michael Skyker tried to take the control away from...
Yeah, by putting his finger in her ass, kind of.
It's very sensual, the whole scene, to me. Even though the music harsh, the colors are really up front, but it's has a lot of large seductive quality to it.
Especially these moments when they look at each other are really great, I think. It's really like, okay, let's do it. It's nice with the counterpoint nearly of her movements, of Roxy doing this kind of cha-cha-cha-cha stuff, isn't it? This rhythmically strange dance that she does.
Yeah, she's very staccato, and they are almost like standing still.
Originally, I wanted them to dance really, let's say, Travolta-like, you know. But we found out that the less they moved, the better it looked.
I'm glad we didn't do that.
They did many. I let them come to the studio, and I wanted to do something like his feathers, I think.
This is this scene. I mean, this big love scene. It took about 3-4 days or shit.
Yeah.
And I remember that nobody could be on the set, so we had. Paul had a very clear idea, you know, what he wanted to see, what he wanted to do, but they all had to sit outside the wall, which is kind of silly because they were looking at a monitor anyway. But just the camera, the assistant, I think, and the AD were in the room.
Yeah, it was all very much choreographed, and nothing was basically everything was discussed beforehand.
Very
really.
specific, yeah, and then also and it took sometimes a long time to get, you know, moving your body around. You can't see, you know, you have to be careful not showing too much and not showing too little. And okay, if the breasts are a little too high or too low, can you tape it up a little bit? Move this back a little bit. Move your feet up a little higher. It's like you have to give them very direct. Instructions, which is really weird to give, you know, actors.
Michael really goes pretty. I mean, both go pretty far there, isn't it? The shot where he's basically giving her oral sex is extremely suggestive, which was taken out of the American version. Clearly, I mean, his head is there, but like you see it now, where he's really licking her, that had to be taken out. Like a lot of shots that were too explicit. Had to be taken out of the American version. But this is the original version. This is what you would call the director's cut, which was also, of course, the European, Japanese, and whatever cut.
And this is, of course, reminiscent of the very opening. It's like when the movie opens and we tilt to the ceiling and we see the first
this first indication of that it might be a murder scene instead of a sex scene.
Yeah.
I think the scene can be that long because it's nearly 3 minutes. Of sex, which is nearly impossible, you know, to keep that without being irritating, embarrassing, or pornographic.
Yeah, because I think the reason it stands up like that because there's so much tension in the scene.
Right.
You know that something might happen or could happen, and you're kind of waiting. Is this gonna happen? Is he gonna do it? And what is his reaction gonna be?
Right. The fingers again. that you saw in the first scene. And then the nails that you see there on his back when she pulls blood. Yeah, the music is really great. And the hands introducing again the bat, basically they will use later. And there you go, bop, which is the blood lines were done because she had little tubes underneath her fingers that we pump blood through as she was making the scratching. Of course, it's not real.
Not real scratches, but
the blood was pumped out.
Yeah. But it feels like a real love scene. Normally, you know, those love scenes are always like very poetic, very, you know, elegant and soft and sweet and try to hide a lot and nothing is said. But this is one of the most suggestive love scenes I think ever filmed. Because you know it has drama. You know there's
because
any second something can happen.
Well, especially now that he starts to really introduce. She introduces the scarf again, isn't it? Which was the beginning of the other scene.
And the shots from the back that, you know, when she ties it up, it almost puts him like he's in her prison right now.
It was very difficult for Michael, of course, to act this kind of stuff because you have to play fear and lust at the same time, isn't it? Because the fear that something goes wrong or that there is some meaning behind this. And the lust basically because he wants to be dominated. He wants to go to this moment of being able to be killed, isn't it? The ecstasy of that.
And we're hiding. What did she do? And I love those moments that you still don't know what's happening till she releases him.
She's nearly trembling. It's so. And you don't know what she's thinking, is it? Should I have done it or not?
Exactly, yeah.
But basically also she was kind of, by the sex, she must have felt that it was so seductive, the sex, that she felt that it was a pity to finish it by killing, isn't it? That's what I think that happened.
Yeah, she's wondering if she missed a chance now, if she really has gone too far.
But she was seduced by herself, by the quality of the sex.
Exactly, yeah. Although, of course, Roxy's going to instantly deny it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something, Rocky. Man to man. I think she's the fuck of the century. What do you think? How long you been here? You like watching, don't you?
She likes me to watch. Nikki.
I remember we reshot that shot because the scratches in the makeup were so big that my producer Alan Marshall said it looks like she
killed him.
The vampire killed him. So we had to reshoot the scratches really.
It was the return of the vampire.
Of course, this is all setting up the scene before with Roxy, and this look at each other is setting up for later, where she is supposed to kill him, isn't it, Roxy?
And you don't even know if Sharon's character has told Roxy to kill him, or is it Roxy's idea by itself?
it's quite possible that she suggested it, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. If you hate him so much, why don't you? I mean,
Yeah, why don't you try something? Yeah, that's what she would have said, isn't it?
because he couldn't do it herself, obviously, in that love scene.
There was a difficult scene for Michael, and he did a really good job in changing dialogue and attitude, especially because he really think it was the fuck of the century, while she puts it in a kind of a perspective like, well, what, that was really not that sensational, isn't it?
So yeah, she just puts it in a library as one of the
Yeah.
many.
And that was the dialogue, but basically he felt, of course, that it would make him too vulnerable. So he changed it around with a smile and the way he treats it. You're not sure exactly what he thinks about it. This is, of course, Hitchcock again.
Totally,
isn't it?
yeah,
Many Hitchcock movies have these kind of ideas. We shot it with a crane, I think. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
because
with
to
a
get that,
hot hat or something.
Yeah, to get that high over that cliff, I really want to see the ocean and the steps. This is a totally different beach, but
Yeah, that's the one we shot up a little bit north of Los Angeles, I think. isn't
yeah,
it? Yeah, that's one of the few cheats we did there, really.
yeah, because that real location didn't have any beaches.
No, that was directly on the sea, isn't it?
I'm not gonna confess all my secrets, Nick, just because I have an orgasm.
So here he really states what we added to the scene and what Michael really insisted on, and he was fully right, that at the end, of course, he would still say, even if I fall in love with you, even if I have sex with you all the time, still, that will not prevent me. If I find out that you are the killer,
You can put that in your book.
I'll get you. That was added, was not in the script, but I think that was very necessary to give him the strength for the upcoming scene, so you know that he's determined. And basically, dramatic is important. You know that he is, although he is seduced, he is still also on the path of destroying her if necessary.
And it makes his character a lot more interesting.
Yeah,
You know? So
it gives
just-
it more tension, isn't it?
Wasn't there.
Otherwise, you would start thinking that he would be just sucked in by her and is not working on the case.
Yeah, that is he'd just become a victim, and he wants to be in charge of his own destiny.
I asked Michael to put that to take Gus' Western hat because I felt that Michael would look so good in a cowboy movie. Look at that, we're nearly like Kirk Douglas, isn't it?
Yeah, but it also looks like a commercial for some cigarettes too. You know, it could just be one of those.
I'm worried about him, he's worried about
You
rubbish.
gotta protect yourself, Gus. You really do.
So what in the hell for? You think I'm getting any? I mean, sure I can get laid.
Yeah, he would look good in the Western, that's for sure.
Huh?
He would look good in a Western.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That diner was built, that's not there. It's under the freeway, and Terry Mars built it there. Very nicely done. It's because it seems to integrate it so well into the location, isn't it?
Yeah, because we needed something close to where the rest of the action scene would take place, so that we didn't have to make a long transition shot from one to the other location. They had to be connected. And also it's connected to downtown. As you can see when they come outside, you really can see the whole downtown area of San Francisco.
And at the side in the beginning when they came out of the nightclub, that's a let's say a facade that we built, so it looked like the club. Where the Western Country Club that is at the side of the diner. Took some time to find this music in the background, which is very nice because it's kind of melancholic, isn't it? Kind of the music on the record they play there.
I like the reactions of Gus.
Yeah.
Always makes me laugh when I see that.
Well, his whole outfit is so kind of.
And
apparently, he's somebody that has a really admiration for the western county side of American society, isn't it?
Yeah, he's that character. It really is befitting.
Maybe it wasn't her that paid him. Maybe the money was for something else. How the fuck do I know?
But of course it was her who paid him.
I'm just an old city cowboy trying not to fall out of his saddle.
But he will fall. I mean, there's some proscopic thinking there. This is through the window of the car.
Of the car, yeah. You can see it a little bit better in the DVD. It's like this is basically Roxy's point of view.
My little pissant car.
Of course, because it's Catherine's car. For a long time, we think it's Sharon Stone. It's Catherine Trammell being on his pursuit, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And a real gold plate Seiko watch.
And then we get to the scene where basically where Michael is hit by the car, where you did forced us all to do 3 takes, Jan, with the stuntman.
Yeah, but it needed to be right because right now we'll get.
And
to
I
it
was
in a
scared to
second.
death because it's real, you know. There's no, I mean, it's not Michael clearly, it's a stuntman, but I mean, the way he hits it's just done in real, isn't it? He flies over the car.
He flies over the car, but you just have to fly the right way.
Yeah.
If you don't fly the right, it might look phony, and even though it's real, it still might look phony. But this is a great setup. You know, I love those tracking combination
It's
shots.
like a shark, isn't it? Following
Yeah,
him.
it's like really. He's like really being caught by the spider now. It's
That's
really,
real, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's a great stunt by this.
This is Michael,
yeah, it's
really.
Michael, and even getting out of the way, obviously.
Yeah, that's Michael.
And
he took some rest there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can cheat by using a long lens, but still it was scary. And this is all in one shot, so it was a pretty tricky situation. And I like it when actors do their own stunts, you know, because as an audience, you always see it. You know right away.
But normally, of course, you have always to cut from wide shot to close shot, where the end of the fall is them and the beginning is the stuntman.
And you're always over the shoulder of the stuntman. You never know who it is.
This is all San Francisco, really. We shot it there. And then I think when he goes up the staircase, because the car is blocking him, that was done by Michael himself, isn't it? That's all Michael doing that, going up.
He has learned a lot when he was doing the TV series in San Francisco. He learned a lot of driving, he said. He was like a really good stunt driver. He had to do his own stunts in that TV series too. And he was a good driver.
Oh, this is the stunt guy.
Yeah, that was But
the car nearly toppled there, isn't it?
Yeah, but he was really good though. I mean, he did a good job.
And then it's really here who's bluffing the most, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like cat and mouse game.
You want to play hard? Come on!
This is next to what is now the Moscone Center, but that was not built there. There was an enormous building pit there at the side. Remember? That's where we shot it.
Yeah,
because and we used the pit basically for the crash. And I mean, we could only shoot it these days because they were building, and basically there was. And they were filling in, of course, the area where they were. So that's inside the pit, the building pit of the Moscone Center. But now the Moscone Center is there. It's nice what you would do that. All the lights you have there reflecting in it.
Yeah, I like to see you know, so you can see the practicals, and you can see actually practicals light the sun.
Roxy.
I mean, till the moment that you see the blonde hair, it could still be Sharon, of course, and then it ultimately turns out to be Roxy. The next scene, I think, with the exception of the beginning, is really one shot which I really like. That's one of these Orson Welles shots, isn't it? That starts here.
This is your statement?
Yeah.
It's all. There's no cutting.
Around North Beach for no particular reason, and this car won't get out of the way. I don't think
This is really as much the scenes of the Touch of Evil as possible, I think.
Yeah.
Reason to put your ass in a sling.
Full name is Roxanne Hardy. Last known.
It also gets you the feeling of real time. That there's, you know, sometimes when you cut a scene up too much, you feel like so much time has passed, and you know this is right in one. It connects everything.
She rolls her car down the hill in front of you and dies. Is that what you're telling me? That's all I know. Well, you know what then? Fuck you, Nick. Fuck you!
So people always come in at the time we need them, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I mean, you see this stuff right now a lot in TV series.
Yeah.
I mean, they all, what you see now, like in those ER shows, whatever, they all have ultimately copied it from movies like this. There she goes.
Hello, Nick. It's Dr. Myron and Dr. McElwain.
Nick?
They've been asked.
I mean, this is a nice, let's say, pseudo-Freudian scene, I think, using all the jargon that
And I like how his character at the very end just wipes it off the table.
Right.
Nick, we understand you've been
This kind of friendly, let's say, attitude, isn't it, that is so deadly that they display there, these psychiatrists.
Deserved to die? I didn't know him well enough. I won't miss him.
Nick, when you recollect your childhood, are your
Which is such a cliche, of course, isn't it? So that's a cliche, and he answers with the ultimate cliches, isn't it, there, of...
But it was a lot. Number two, I wasn't pissed off at my dad, even when I was old enough to know what he and Mom were doing in the bedroom. Number three, I don't look in the toilet before I flush it. Number four, I haven't wet my bed for a long time. Number five...
He's dying.
Why don't the two of you go fuck yourselves? I'm out of here.
She arranged it to help him, isn't it? So that there would be a nice evaluation. Of course, he turned them against him completely.
Something's going on. You're sleeping with her, aren't you?
What's this interest you've got in her?
My interest is in you, not her. She seduces people. She manipulates people. She'll do anything she
I
can.
thought you hardly knew her.
I know the type. I'm a psychologist.
That means you manipulate people too, Beth.
I mean, she's lying clearly, isn't it? She is just, and she goes too far, then she tries to retreat, and
I feel sorry for you, Nick.
and he has a kind of a feeling, of course.
She's not as good as Sharon's character, that's for sure.
Right.
Again.
Helicopter, isn't it?
Yeah, but the kind of typical Hitchcock shot.
Yeah, right. I remember that there was a really bad winter one of these days.
It was
isn't it?
very
You really
windy. It was
crashed
like,
on the rocks there.
Oh my God,
with
it was like really scary. Yeah, it was like so windy. I mean, I think that's the only take that really worked. In this scene, that shimmering light is really used very effectively.
Yeah, it starts already here, isn't
yeah,
it?
and then really goes.
It's
on.
like the light of the wave, something like that,
Yeah.
isn't it? The sun on the waves that reflects into all the rooms, in fact, everywhere.
Yeah, it is all of a sudden that this woman, this character who used to be so in control, is all of a sudden not so. It shakes her her balance. It's kind of shows some of her.
It's wonderful how, because it's really completely, let's say, disturbing all the time, isn't it? Especially because over the whole wall here now it goes, and it's fluctuating continuously.
She left right after you.
There's a really nice acting of Sharon here. I mean, she's able really to suggest to him that she's really upset. I don't know if she really is, and it might just be an act of her. But she seems very vulnerable.
She tried.
Roxy was a manic depressive. I came to the house, etc. I shouldn't have let her watch us. She would have been back in therapy. That was basically what was supposed to be said to please the gay community, because it's clear that Roxy was a psychologically disturbed individual with a specific psychological disorder. When she went after Nick, she was acting solely from an individual psychological disturbed motivation. She was clearly not going after Nick because she hated men.
I think this scene is also so good because it's all in one shot too. You know, all the emotion you feel, it's not like cut up in many different parts with reactions. It's like it focuses to Michael when it has to, it goes right back to her. You know, always sees his reaction in the background.
But it's also nice, of course, that because somehow it seems to symbolize the waves, isn't it? So we still keep the connection with the sea there in every shot, even if it's dark.
Yeah, and this is kind of taken over by the fireplace, but it's still the same type of effect.
Well, that's on their faces. In the background is really the stuff you did with the mirrors, isn't it?
Right, that's right. Yeah.
I don't have luck with women. There was this girl I met when I was in college. I slept with her once. She started following me around, taking my picture.
Now she's going to set him up, isn't it?
Exactly. You know that something, she's going to tell him a lie.
Lisa.
So she gives him enough information to go on with, which ultimately will lead him to finding out that that Beth used another name and etc. And that she is basically has a much more complicated background than we assumed to. On top of that, of course, that they were on the same college and that there was something happening between the two of them. But she does as if she does. She gives him the information so cryptically that it's just enough to pursue, but not enough so that he understands really that she's setting him up.
Exactly, yeah. And he said at this moment that they just made love, that it's kind of over, that he's in control again, and she sets him up right after it again.
Right.
He's at the same spot as where he was in the beginning.
This is probably real information, you know. This is just basically something that happened to Roxy, that she was involved in slaughtering her brothers, isn't it?
Find it in your computer.
What was the motive?
She said she didn't know herself, just sort of did it on impulse. The razor just happened to be there. That's what she said.
I mean, the way it's constructed by Joe is that everybody, included Hazel Dopkins and Roxy, and then, of course, as a consequence, Catherine Trammell, are all murdering without knowing why they do it, isn't it? And Catherine Trammell is the only one, as has explained him in the scene with the book the first time, her first novel, that it's just to see if you can get away with it, which is the real reason, I think.
She used Daddy's razor. Oof.
Sure makes you wonder what they talked about when they set themselves down in front of the campfire at night. You ever met a friend of hers hasn't killed somebody? Must have beat your ordinary everyday girl talk.
I'm not sure anymore she did it.
Which one are we talking about now, Hoss? We know old Hazel did it. We know young Roxy did it. And the other one? Well, she got that magna cum laude pussy on her that done fried up your brain.
He kind of gives, because tells the audience again all the things that we know, and it's basically what the audience is thinking right now. How can you, after all those facts, how can you still not?
Yeah, so we try to counter that now.
Exactly, yeah.
And of course, we also have to build to the fact that ultimately the solution will be that Beth did it all, isn't it? At least that is the police. That's what the police ultimately, at the end of the movie, thinks. Even as an audience, we should know better.
Yeah. Well, the very final shot, I think, gives a clear indication.
Yeah, we have Trammell.
So Lisa Oberman, of course, turns out to be Beth, isn't it? Trammell is there. Lisa Oberman is certainly not there, but. The mistake being, of course, suggested by purpose by Catherine by not pronouncing it very precisely.
Exactly.
Catherine said Oberman, but in fact I asked Shannon to say it in a way that it could include the H or not, you know.
Yeah.
so she said Oberman. Yeah, I mean, but she sets him up, so she gives him a wrong way, and ultimately he will find the right way. But she knows, as the devil, that she knows that he will find it anyhow, and will be surprised by his own cleverness, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
And then basically that will lead him to think that ultimately the person mostly to be more a suspect than Catherine is Beth.
Killing isn't like smoking. You can quit. I gotta go.
All sounds reasonable what she's saying.
I promised I'd get her home by 6 o'clock. She just loves America's Most Wanted.
There was no Lisa Oberman when you were at Berkeley.
I think the dialogue is extremely clever.
Yeah, the structure of the plot is fantastic. It's really cool.
And people have always said that it was kind of, let's say that the plot was, let's say, ridiculous. But if you accept the fact that somebody kills people to get away, to see if he can get away with it, I think the plot for the rest is pretty clever. And the dialogue is extremely modern, and let's say especially in its easy use of sexual terms and sexual innuendo all the time. It looks like this is a computer program, is it? But it is a videotape that we play on the computer, I think, what I remember, to make it really precise, so that you that we can time it, that we timed it before, and that we didn't have to wait too much for timings that would, because when you would try to do it in
real time would be impossible.
Also, a lot of these things that you see here, like the zooming in and all that stuff, is still, well, it's possible now, but it was certainly not possible in '91. So we are really ahead of ahead of time here.
Especially the switching real quick.
Yeah.
You shouldn't leave your door open.
Here it is, yeah.
I didn't. There's something wrong with my lock. What do you want, Nick?
Tell me about Catherine.
There's the people across the street, the dance group.
Right. Something wrong with my lock. Don't forget that, because later, of course, it's clear that Catherine Trammell has been in Beth's house to erase from her answering machine a message that she spoke in to get Beth to the office where she gets killed later. So the key, of course, there's something wrong with the lock, is something that Catherine did, so she would be that she would be able to enter the house when it fitted her. I mean, it's this completely diabolical plan that she, as Satan, basically is able to conceive. What we'll see at the end of the movie. We'll get back to that later.
You never said anything.
Well, what am I supposed to say? Hey guys, I'm not gay, but I did fuck your suspect. I was embarrassed. It was the only time I've been with a woman.
Now, this was supposed to be changed again for the gay community too. What was supposed to say, guys? I fucked your suspect, and I'm bisexual. They look at each other. Beth, does that matter to you that I'm bisexual? Nick, no, it does not. Beth, well, it would matter to a lot of people. Nick, well, it doesn't matter to me.
I mean, did she tell you in bed, Nick? It's what I do.
Why'd you change your name?
I got married. He called me Beth. He was on staff at the clinic down in Salinas. Didn't last long. Nick? God, I mean, do you really think that I could kill someone? I mean, I never even met Johnny Boz. And what about Nilsson? What possible motive would I have to kill Nilsson?
You get that lock fixed.
God. She's evil! She's brilliant!
I think Beth by now is starting to realize that basically the plotting of Catherine Trammell might be going against her, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, and that is like really, and also the whole way it's not visualized. It really is go to her direction.
Are you not gonna
A lot of Hitchcock references in the high angles there, isn't it? And then basically coming down to normal here.
She said you got it backwards. She said
Which, of course, he knew.
What?
I mean, he was going to find Lisa Hoberman.
Oh yeah, clear. Yeah, of course. Yes, sure.
He's a smart cookie.
I kill people too, right?
No.
Liar.
Another cue.
She's pretty convincing, and her arguments are pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Joe wrote that very, very well, because it's so interesting that the movie has this ambiguity that you go up and down from, let's say, in the second part of the movie, you really go up and down between is she the killer or is it bad?
The moment he thinks it is her, then something else takes it away. Then, and the moment he thinks it cannot be her, she puts him right in the situation that it has to be Beth. So it's very, very smart.
So Nilsson had a report on Beth. So what? You don't know what the hell was in it.
Catherine told me.
So it all makes sense, isn't it? The whole thing here by having the report being taken by Nilsson.
Catherine, she wouldn't want anybody to know what happened in Berkeley, but Nilsson found out about it, and that.
By now he's convinced that Beth is really to be blamed, isn't it?
He was, yeah. He probably asked her.
She'd have to be nuttier than a 20-pound Christmas fruitcake. She's not the one who hangs out with multiple murderers. Your girlfriend is. She's a
It's like one of those scenes we had to shot at twilight, and very few chances to do retakes or do multiple takes.
Yeah, we did a couple of takes very
That was
fast
it.
in a row. We waited for hours, and we rehearsed the scene for hours, and then had 10 minutes to shoot it, isn't it? Originally, the scene was written in a room, and then we basically, when we saw the pier, remember?
Yeah.
Then we said, "Oh wow, that was probably a bit more interesting to shoot it on the pier, really."
Yeah, it also keeps the city part of the plot.
Right. It's a really nice pier, anyhow. With the light and we
Yeah.
just got the lights on, isn't it?
Decided to give you a second chance.
At the very last moment, I have to say, because we were.
Is that so?
Yeah. Then, for some reason, we couldn't get hold of the guy to turn the lights on.
No.
She finds her way into every home.
Yeah. Well, perhaps she copied also Bet's key, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Why don't you come over here and tell me now?
Nice light there.
So now he's almost in the position that Bess was in the beginning.
My detective's almost dead.
So I got time for a last cigarette.
Afterwards.
It's good that she doesn't wear a bra, isn't it? Because it makes it easier for the scenes.
A lot quicker. And she looks beautiful, so.
Gotta do some research tomorrow morning.
I'm good at research. I'll help you.
No thanks.
What are you researching?
Oh, new ending to your book.
Oh, really? What's the twist?
I think he has been nearly won over by her now, isn't it?
Yeah, but then the music helps to make it look like maybe it's not quite right, quite true. That's why the music is
because
really
it
cool.
comes in
this
again
scene.
with
It's
the
really-
motive of
yeah.
insecurity, isn't it?
Like everything is not what it's supposed to be. Whatever he says.
Live happily ever after.
It won't sell.
Why not?
Somebody has to die.
Of course, that's a line that will come up at the end of the movie.
Why?
Somebody always does.
And that might apply to him, isn't it? This was a little suburban
Yes, Salinas.
hospital somewhere close to San Francisco, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Salinas.
And the interior is real, isn't it? We shot it there. Also trying basically to look to work with very long shots. With I mean shots that are not interrupted by editing, isn't it? Again. Here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So that you get a really feeling of being there because you're so shortly there anyhow, isn't it? So you get more of a feeling of presence, of being present in the situation.
Yeah, you find out the same information he does in one shot. I think that's always like exciting to watch.
I think even here, I think we nearly don't cut. It might be just also one shot.
Yeah, I think the choreography in those scenes is really, really good. I mean, it's like, and a lot of the scenes, like the way the actors move, and it feels very real. It's not like so forced that they have to walk to camera. It happens automatically almost.
Yeah. Although it was sometimes we had a hard time to convince them that they had to make 3 steps because it would be better for the camera, isn't it? Even if they didn't feel it as such.
Yeah.
I think there might be one cut here or something.
Yeah, reverse cut on Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always hard to convince an actor to have to walk somewhere, to go somewhere.
Right. So was she ever a suspect?
Nope. There was some talk. But it never.
I used him. This is the actor I used again in Showgirls, in fact, when he's the stage manager there.
You look like a stage manager.
She did. But like I said, it never panned out.
More and more information is being revealed.
Yeah, I'm
Almost-
just making clear that that Bet might be the guilty person, isn't it? So
Exactly.
they really start to shift from away from Catherine Trammell. Then, of course, here we start the final part of the movie, where basically he realizes that she's nearly finishing the book, which is called Shooter, after him, And then he reads her machine, where she prints out a thing which uses that word staircase. His body, his partner's dead body, from the elevator, legs sticking out. You can just read that. Of course, that is really the way
you're going to find.
He'll find his partner in the next scene, nearly.
She kills him.
So that would mean, or that she's telepathic and that she knows the future, or clairvoyant, you should call it. Or that she writes it and then sets it up, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's also what he remembers when he's waiting in the car outside the building later on.
Right.
All of a sudden he realizes what he has read, and he says, "Oh my God, this is a setup."
But then, of course, he still, because of the completely unexpected presence of Jean Tripplehorn in that scene, and all the evidence that's planted by Sharon, it still looks at the end of all that although she gave him the clue here, kind of, it still looks like it's Jean Tripplehorn, and the police believes that, isn't it?
Games are over.
We did many takes here. It was interesting because we combined the takes where where Sharon was nice, and then Michael got really aggressive. That was basically their dynamics. And when Sharon got mean, he became very cool. And in fact, but the two, if you would cut the takes together as acted, they didn't work as well as when I cut the takes together that were basically from the different attitudes. So I used the attitudes that were not corresponding in the editing.
As you can see, we took a long time to shoot because it was pretty bright outside.
Yeah,
when we started. It's pretty dark outside to the end of the scene.
Well, that's me forcing everybody to make a lot of takes, probably. But Michael did it in many ways, but it was really interesting because, I mean, that the editing could change a scene even in such a dramatic way.
Yeah, but also in subtle. It was very subtly done.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it.
That is, again, shot with 3 cameras in it, just for Twilight situation.
Yeah.
And in the scene before, of course, what we didn't mention is Dorothy Malone, who is Hazel Dopkins, that we finally see a little bit more that we see here, I think only for the 3rd time. Again, something is suggested between the two of them on a kind of a sexual level, I think. Do they have a sexual lesbian relationship, Sharon and Hazel Dopkins, or is it just basically Sharon being interested in let's say, spontaneous homicide, isn't it?
That's the building.
Again, Twilight shooting. A lot of Twilight we use.
A lot of evenings, a lot of, just tiny little moments you can do those shots.
Yeah, this scene I think is shot in a way that he's going to die, isn't it? That's why we, for example, in the next shot, I think after him, we have this lamp going from green to red here at the end.
Exactly, yeah. That's a way that makes sure that the timing was right.
But we never got it on red. It's orange, I think, isn't it?
I think we got on red, but you just cut it off. But even the lighting in here, that goes slowly towards orange and red. The reds and the building.
Right. Again, this is the elevator where the floors are always the same, isn't it? The elevator seems to move, but it's not.
Yes, each time you open the door...
we put a different background there.
Yeah.
In fact, we shot it in one take. It's intercut later but we shot it in one take, so we made these changes as he was going in and out, I think.
But you know now that something is going to happen.
Yeah. It's nice that it basically builds up with these stops all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's a great build-up. But you still have no idea what's going to happen. You know that somebody's going to die.
This is the moment you talked about, isn't it?
Yeah, this is when he realized, oh my God.
There must be something wrong, isn't it?
There's something, and he recognizes, and he remembers possibly what he has read on that last chapter of the book.
Otherwise, we cannot explain it otherwise. We discussed it for a long time on the set. But
what makes him go over there?
How do I know,
Well, I think because we shot it out of order a little bit.
Yeah. There's one Rob Bottin shot there. Make a puppet shot, I think, in the next sequence here somewhere. There's one. There's a puppet.
Yeah.
And there we have the legs sticking out of his dead partner, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that's
in the elevator.
That's exactly how she had written it in a book.
There's a prosthetic on the side of his cheek there that we pump blood through.
Freeze!
And there's a Carrie with the sound here, very interesting Eisenstein cut with the fast movement of the heads, and even on the Terrible you have a lot of that. And this, I really like this shot too, this kind of Steadicam shot really, but keeps everything together, the shadow there.
Exactly, yeah, I love that.
It's a really nice light there, because the green is so good, isn't it?
Yeah, again, this is the very subtle color gels all over the movie, and this is like really...
Well, we looked at Hockney a little bit, the paintings of Hockney, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And probably Hopper, but... I mean, there she's, of course, crazy enough to put her hands in her pocket. And
well, we were discussing how the hell can we... Because he had her hands outside in the shot before. How can we get her hands back in?
And we said, well, we don't know, but you have to do it, Gene.
Otherwise, you're not going to...
I talked about it in the interview that you recorded, but it was really hard for both actors to do that because it was so against character, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it had to happen, of course, because it was for the plot absolutely necessary. But clearly, Jean would never put her hands in her pockets, basically, as a psychologist, while a guy would have a gun on her, isn't it? And of course, I mean, and why would she grab her keys, really? Anyhow, it works, basically, I think, but it was hard for them. And now we start to bring accumulative evidence forward that it can only have been done by the person that was just killed, Beth, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the same time, you know that, a person that would never leave that evidence behind either. So you kind of still suggestive that...
Yeah, somehow the police is stupid enough to take everything for granted, isn't it?
It is too simple to find it essay at the San Francisco Police Department jacket there.
Yeah, right. And I think we shot it perhaps also a bit too bluntly, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think it's the end of the movie. You cannot just explain everything to Daz or take the time to do it.
Right.
I think sometimes you have to be a little bit like that and get it over with.
This, of course, is a blonde wig that was left behind by Sharon Stone, isn't it? She made all these calls. She made a phone call to Jean Triplehorn to get her to this building. She gave Gus the information about this roommate. Put that on his tape. All that, of course, being not true. And somehow, miraculously or satanically, that's why I always call her the devil, she was able to put all these things together in the right time frame so that everybody would meet there in the corridor, and so that she set up the execution of Beth by Michael Douglas. That she foresaw that it would go that way, which is, of course, quite impossible, but that is her plan. And she planted, of course, these photographs there probably, and the books. After the killing, she went to the room of Jean, put all these things there, so that showing that she had an obsession, that Beth had an obsession for Catherine. And of course, the last photograph of this group there, she's as a boxer when she was with the boxer, and this is the photograph, two photographs that explain basically the attitude of Jean towards Sharon in the second close-up here.
Captain Trammell's roommate her freshman year is dead. She died of leukemia.
Her jealousy, her fascination, her admiration, and perhaps her love-hate relationship between the two women. And also the gun, of course, that we saw in the beginning of the scene was planted by Catherine Trammell after the killing of Jean. So she must have rushed from the staircase, put the wig there, and the raincoat, moved fastly to Jean Triplehorn's Beth's apartment and put the evidence there. And this is all confirming, of course, that it can only have been Beth. Again, it's one shot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all like...
You just can't tell about people, can you? Even the ones you think you know inside and out.
So that seems to settle the case, isn't it? That it was Beth doing it.
Yeah. Although it's still something in his mind that still doesn't add up.
No, not for him, isn't it? But for the police it does. That's the last person that he wants to hear it from, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah.
Congratulations. It's really beautiful trumpet music there, isn't it?
That's a little Herman-like,
Horns.
eh?
Huh?
That's a little like Herman.
Yes. Again, Twilight, isn't it? Michael was always, after we shot the scene, he came back to me and said, you know, that's a pity. I should not have gotten out. I should have gotten out the car, but I should have taken a moment there. Remember that he said that? So that basically before I walked to the house, that would be a really interesting, emotional, even musical moment. Of course, we had shot it and it was too late to redo it. But I think he was fully right and would have even given Jerry a little bit more occasion to fill that in, even if it's a bit more emotional music. It's like the low, let's say, the melancholy of the moment is that he killed somebody that somehow loved him, being guilty or not. And his best friend was just killed, and basically, and he's congratulated about everything. So it's a kind of a nice, tragic paradox there. Again, she plays her part very well here, being extremely vulnerable suddenly and being very compassionate, fighting with herself, pretending to fight with herself, to give in to her emotions for Nick. We never will know if there is any reality to that or not. Isn't it? But he seems to believe it to a certain degree here.
I don't want to lose you.
I remember he had a lot of trouble with this scene to get to this type of emotion.
Yeah.
We had to shoot it quite a few times.
Well, it's a difficult scene because it's a little bit out of character that she would be suddenly. She makes a really big switch between the cool.
It's totally out of character.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
And it had to be done, and I think she felt that, like Gene and Michael felt it in the other scene of the killing. It was just to put the movie together, isn't it? It's like something they say that you have to say to the actors. Yes, it might not be in character, but the plot demands it to do it this way. And fortunately, they were all willing to give me the chance to prove that was true.
But those close-ups really are so suggestive because you know that her mind is going again. It's reeling. It's trying to.
But
figure
when
things
you saw
out.
in her eyes a second ago, isn't it?
See, that's why she was so perfect for that part.
Right.
I mean, you know, she had to do so little to create those type of emotions.
Well, because it's in her soul, isn't it? It's something that she can command if she wants to. It might not be pleasant what she goes through, but basically...
It's definitely a very dark side that is always like right below the surface.
Right.
And of course, I love this, that the camera lingers, what happened?
Right.
And then, of course, we find out that like in the earlier love scene, nothing has happened. That she can't do it.
Yeah, I think Joe meant this as a kind of a coda, isn't it? But I don't know if people would believe that. I always had a little bit of problem that I was not sure if the audience would exactly believe at this point that she would kill him, but perhaps. And this is, I really like. This was really written very precisely in the script. I cannot take any credit for this. It included the fade out at the end and the fade in again, but also the way she behaves, the way she stretches out her hand, because you see the hand go down here towards the ice pick clearly, but we don't know that yet. But the camera just go there, just goes up again. You did that also with that little camera, isn't it? That
exactly.
moving
Yeah,
camera.
it really makes the audience really think twice. Oh my
Right.
God.
And now he turns to the other side and exposes there his back. Very vulnerable there. Like she could stab it in like that, isn't it? And she looks like she's going to stab it in. He seems to feel something. We don't know what her arm is going to do. What did she pick up there? Is there something in her arm? The music helps, of course. And then it's just an empty hand.
Yeah, but also the gesture is so fast that
Yeah.
for a second you, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a very effective.
And then it seems to be the end of the movie. And then he wrote it like this: fade in, fade out. And I followed his description. I don't know why it works, but it works, I think.
Yeah, and this is also actually very Hitchcockian. He would do things like this, you know, at the very end.
And
of
at
the
the end,
movie.
then. Really nicely scored by
Yeah, the
Terry. isn't it?
perfect timing there. Really cool. Yeah, the whole score is excellent. Really, really.
My
excellent.
first assistant was great Louis Desposito that I used again for Hollow Man.
Dorothy.
Milone, that, yeah, long time, very well known actress on certainly on television.
George Costanza, I thought he played such a great part as Gus. I think he really put that character down so
yes,
so
made it
well.
and made the relationship between the two men so
totally
kind
come
of
true and
warm
real.
and interesting.
Yeah, and he was like a really vulnerable character that you really cared for. So that when he dies at the end of the movie, I think you're really upset about it.
Yeah. No, we still used a lot of.
I was trying to figure out what we used them for.
Well, for the car scenes and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
or maybe
and-
just a driver sometimes,
Right.
because you need drivers for just cars that move around that in the background.
A lot of people that I see there that I used in other movies. You worked a lot with Joe Frazier, didn't you?
Yeah, a lot with and Coles and a lot of similar.
Dialogue
crews.
editor Scott Hacker that did my supervising sound for Hollow Man.
Steve Flick, of course, sound effects editor was great. It's brilliant. He also did Twist actually for me. Foley mixer. There's some really good guys there. God.
Mike Cohet and Carlos and Aaron Rochin who
Yeah.
did RoboCop, Basic
Yeah.
Instinct and Total Recall.
Yeah, they're very good, really.
Made the sound, mixed all together.
Standby painter. That's
Well,
just
that was basically if a knife would hit the set and the paint would be gone, then they
that's
pasted it
just
in.
an important guy on the set. I mean, people always underestimate that. I use them all the time. Even if, for instance, the color of a wall doesn't match the lighting or light.
Right. You ask him to.
Quickly change the color. Just
Right.
paint it light green or paint it whatever it has to be. And they're really good at that.
Yeah.
Or even the perspective painting real quick, and they're quite good artists.
It was a relatively normal sized crew, isn't it, here?
Yeah, there was nothing. Yeah, not really.
Robot team, basically, I told you this: the special effects of the makeup and the puppets, the two puppets of Johnny Boss and George Zanza. Both these shots, or the several shots that we did there, were shot after the movie. A couple of weeks later, when everything was edited, we came together, and Jan came back, and we shot it. We shot it in the elevator and in the bed again.
In the
isn't it?
bedroom, yeah.
So we kept these sets present, so we could, because all this puppeteering always takes forever, isn't it? To have the eyes and the mouth and everything moving in a coordinated way with a puppet is extremely complicated and time consuming.
Yeah, and also once it's cut together, you know exactly what moment you need, so you can really set for that. Oh, second unit. I'm trying to remember what the second unit was for.
Well, the aero unit, that you remember.
Yeah, that I definitely remember. I remember almost crashing into that cliff, that's for sure.
Right.
God. And especially that whole scene behind the car, that was like a really difficult helicopter shot.
But they got that really well, I think.
Yeah.
Were you there when you shot the car along, or only
yeah.
partially there?
No,
you did it all. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was not there. Well, that's a different unit. Yeah, true. That's the Raving the Rhythm is Channel X. That's the Belgium group, and La Tour Blue. That's the second song in the nightclub.
Hellraiser. This is the music again from the very last moment of the movie.
Yeah.
Repeat.
Bye bye, Karolko.